From Egypt to the world, we don't just teach, we transform, we lead, we build the future together. This is Edu-Next-AI, where ideas ignite, empowering minds with knowledge and insight. The next generation starts here, and why? Because tomorrow begins at Edu-Next-AI. At Edu-Next-AI.
Yes. Welcome to Edu-Next-AI. Please fasten your seatbelts. We are about to embark on a virtual journey to Florida. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this exclusive Edu-Next-AI session, part of our ongoing commitment to innovation and inclusion in education. Tonight, we are thrilled to present a powerful session titled Artificial Intelligence in Classroom, delivered by a truly inspiring educator and leader in the field of AI, Miss Christine Parsons. Miss Christine, it's such a great privilege and honor to have you today. Thank you for joining us. And please join me in giving a warm welcome to Miss Christine as she leads us in this timely and transformative session. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Miss Christine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about this topic. And every time I talk about this topic, the conversation changes because the technology changes so quickly. So bear with me as we're exploring this area together. So I'm going to start sharing slides, hopefully. And can you see my slides or the other presentation or the presenter's view? I'm never quite sure. Do you see the slides?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I see it. Thank you.
Okay. And it's just the full slide, not the presentation view, correct?
No, it's a presentation.
So do you see the main slide or do you see the main slide with the next slide?
I see the main slide.
Okay, good. Sometimes the presentation view gets swapped and I'm never quite sure when I'm on Zoom which one I'm showing. So thank you very much.
The same here.
Yeah. I just always like to double check. It looks like that on my end, but you're never quite sure. So we're going to get right into it because we do have a lot to talk about. And I would like anybody that has questions to please add it to the chat. I'll try to keep up with that as well. I'm Christine Parsons. I'm the program manager for the Toni Jennings Exceptional Education Institute. Our mission is to serve students with disabilities and their families in the community. So we have a lot of different projects. We're very excited about using artificial intelligence in support of our students because we really believe it's going to level the playing field for all students, especially our students with disabilities. So we do a lot of work in this, and we're trying to really make sure that our students are not left out. So I'd like to do a poll and just to get a feel for where everyone is. If you could let me know what your level of experience with artificial intelligence in education is. And the poll should be on the screen now. So we'll give everybody a minute or two just to see where you are, so then I'll know how deeply I can go into the subject matter. Okay. All right. Okay, I've tried it a few times. A couple of experts out there. Excellent. I'll be interested in hearing your take on some of our discussion. And yeah, so it looks like we have all different levels. We'll give a couple more seconds to see where everybody is. Checking the chat as well. All right, so it looks like everybody here has tried it a few times, and then you need to know more. So sorry. Okay.
No, it's a mistake. Someone is open his microphone. Sorry, I will mute them all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so here we go. Their goals for today are we're going to try to develop a foundational AI knowledge. So what is the basics that you need to know to be able to have a discussion with someone about what AI is? We're going to explore ethical and equitable integration into classrooms, you know, all of the things that we need to know to be able to really support our students. And then I'll give some examples of how that you can use this in your professional practice. So those are our three main goals, and we may pivot here and there, but this is my goal for tonight. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but I did want to mention that artificial intelligence is something that's been around since the 1950s with Alan Turing's work. If you don't know who Alan Turing is, I would definitely look into his work. He's really the father of artificial intelligence. And you may have heard of the Turing test, which is to think about when we have true artificial intelligence, what that means. There's a lot of discussion that from people that think we're there already. I don't think so, but you know, keep in mind that this is not a new technology that's all of a sudden hit the marketplace in the past 5 years. It has been around since the 1950s, and there's been a lot of work that does revolve around artificial intelligence that we've been using every day and may not have even noticed it. So the definition of artificial intelligence is a little convoluted. There's no one definition, but all we have to do is think that AI is when computers or machines can do things that usually need human thinking. So for example, reading text or solving math problems or having a conversation up until this point has only been available between human to human interaction. But now machines can have conversations with us. I'm going to be using that term machines a lot because I want everyone to remember that we are working with machines, not human beings.
Miss Christine, I think there is a problem with the presentation. The slide doesn't change. It is the same from the beginning.
Okay, let's see if I can go back.
No, it is the same. No change.
Okay, I'm going to come out.
Yes.
Stop share. We'll try that again.
Okay. Yes, it is appeared now.
Okay, great. So I'll just go back very quickly. All right. Did it go forward now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Apologies for that. All right, so this was the slide about Alan Turing, and I will share these slides, so don't feel that you're going to miss any information or you have to write things down so quickly that I will share all of this information with you. All right, so we're talking about machines that are artificial intelligence is a machine. It's a computer that we can have conversations with. Okay, we're still advancing?
Yes, it works well.
Okay, good. All right, great, thank you. So artificial intelligence is getting smarter every day, and it remembers everything it's ever learned. We can train it to work with us, like us, and for us. And we have an opportunity and a responsibility to make sure that we're teaching our students to be prepared for what's coming. Because AI is already smarter than human beings and it remembers everything. It's a genuine form of intelligence that we're talking about here. So we need to be able to make sure that we are teaching our students to get ready for the future, which is going to include artificial intelligence. So if you think about our learners who are currently attending classes, They'll be entering a workforce where artificial intelligence is common and transformative. So we need them to be able to be ready for that. So we need to teach adults, us first, and then we'll be able to teach the learners. The majority of the fastest growing roles are in technology related roles for right now. And AI and machine learning, according to the World Economic Forum, is going to be one of the major employers in the future. So keep in mind, when we think about artificial intelligence in education, that the machines are going to be able to learn from us. We're going to be able to learn from them. We're going to be able to solve problems, and we're going to be able to do that across many languages. So I'm going to go over some terms. I know this is always the most boring part of any presentation, is going through the vocabulary, but it's important to understand the vocabulary so that we can have conversations about what to do in the future. So when we think of machine learning is just that. It's when a computer learns from data over time. So originally computers were filled with data and then it would spit out a formula, but now the machines learn from data over time and then can generate new responses that weren't programmed into the machine. So for example, a spelling app can improve as students use it more. The machine will learn what spelling errors a student is doing consistently. If we think of an algorithm basically is a list of steps that the computer uses to follow a problem. So it's like a recipe for solving a math problem or a cooking recipe. It's exactly that. The computers are designed to follow an algorithm that is a step-by-step process in their ability to answer a prompt. And we'll talk about prompts in a little bit. Neural networks are those systems. They were designed basically on how the brain works. So you know your brain has a number of neurons that have different connections, and they're based on your experience, how those connections are formed. If we think of a computer network, it's the same idea that different nodes are connected in different ways. And that's how information is gathered once you put in a prompt to a computer. So it's made up of different layers of interconnected nodes that pass information back and forth to each other. And because of this process, the processing speed of how the computers are able to provide us information increases substantially. So an example would be our face recognition on our smartphones. The neural networks look at different parts of your face and then process each little part in different ways and then connect them together to provide that, yes, this is the person that we're looking for. Large language models are AIs that are trained on massive amounts of data. So when we think of things like ChatGPT was basically trained on all the information contained in the internet. And because of that, it has looked at all the patterns of all of that information and now can summarize, answer questions, and write and respond in the same way that the internet has then the data that it's been trained on. And it's improving all the time. So large language models work by using that neural network to be able to find bits of information and then put it all together. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, except to show you that you can see here that these are layers of nodes. That is how the computer works in terms of gathering information. So an input or a prompt goes in, the machine processes bits of information and then gathers it together on the other end quickly to be able to create a response. The other thing here is to look that if we think of the human brain has about 86 billion connections between neurons. ChatGPT 3 had about 175 billion connections, which was amazing. And currently the estimate is that ChatGPT 4.0 has about 1.7 trillion connections between these nodes to be able to process information very quickly, which is pretty astonishing. And it has to make us take pause to think what's it going to be like in the future, because it doesn't forget anything. So I'm going to try something here. I just want to give you an example of what training a computer would look like. So I'm going to exit out of my presentation, and we're going to try to switch. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, can you see my site here? Or still the
Yes.
presentation?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
it.
So this is a site called code.org. It's actually a great site if you're interested in learning about coding, if you have no experience at all. It's designed for students, but I use it for myself. But you can see here that there's a little AI on the side, and we're going to train this AI to be able to understand what the difference between a fish is and trash. So we're going to use the buttons. And this is a simplified version, but it gives you a good idea about what the machine learning goes through. So we're going to tell it here that this is not a fish. So I'm going to click not a fish, fish, fish. These are all fishes. This is not a fish. And then it gives us information about the amount of plastic in the ocean. We're training the AI. So we're going to continue, and we have fish, 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 not a fish. All right, so I'm going to stop here and continue. Now we're going to see if our AI knows what a fish looks like. So it's going to analyze a random set of objects, not the ones that we gave it, and we'll see how well it does. So let's go. So not a fish. Oh, the banana, it thought it was a fish. The tire, it thought it was a fish. Yeah, we didn't train this very well. It's thinking that a lot of things are fish when in fact they're trash. So what we would have to do then, so here are some objects that AI identified as a fish, and you can see there are many here that are not fish. So we're going to have to go back and train our AI a little bit further on more data to be able to have it understand. But that gives you an idea kind of what AIs and what artificial intelligence, how they're trained. So we give it a lot of data, and then we test it, and then we see how it's going to go. And again, I would suggest going to code.org. I think that you'll find that site very interesting. So the last term I want to go over is a chatbot, and a chatbot is simply a computer program that can talk to you and interact to you. So if you've ever been on a customer service site where you're having a conversation with somebody, it's actually probably an AI, and it's designed to be able to provide customer service without having that human. Sometimes you still need to go and talk to a human. And that's also another important part about anything that we're talking about, is we still need to keep a human in the loop. All right, so but let's go now to education and talk specifically about some of the types of AI in education. So we can use artificial intelligence to do predictive analysis. So early warning systems for our students, right? We can look at the students' assessments and their data and be able to determine, is the student staying on task or do they need some more support? Generative AI like ChatGPT or image generation is another area that we can help. AI can help us to generate information like lesson plans. We have programs that can help adaptive learning systems. So an example would be a personal tutor for a student, that where the lesson adapts to the learning that the student is incurring. So as their learning increases, the AI will increase the difficulty of the material. But if they have some areas where they're falling behind, they may go back and revisit some other information that needs to be retaught. And then we have assistive technology too. such as text-to-speech or translations that can really help students, especially if you're teaching students that have a different first language than what they're learning in. So now I want to show this video, and I probably won't show the whole thing, but it gives you an idea of what the potential is.
Hi, my name is Sal Khan. I'm the founder of Khan Academy, and I'm also the author of a new book about artificial intelligence in education called Brave New Words. And OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure it can see our screen.
Actually, in this format.
Hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really?
The hypotenuse.
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you follow? Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side to angle alpha?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent.
Hi,
So I'm going to stop that here. You can see that there's a lot of potential there, right? Like there's a student who's working on a math problem and having a personalized tutor to be able to go through the lesson and to be able to help them while they're going through the lesson and then point out mistakes. We have to be careful when we're setting these types of things up, and a lot of AI companies now are really setting them up for educators, because we don't want the AI to give the students the answers. We want to go through the learning the learning process and to help them as a coach, like a teacher would. So there's a lot of work being done in that area right now. And we really have to think about how are our classrooms going to change because we have this technology. So we want to rethink what education can be for our students and what our future classrooms will look like. They're not going to be the same as the past. So we have to prepare now. So if we think about these areas of human and social interactions and forming connections, especially between the teachers and the students, is going to be paramount to our students' success. And then thinking about the technology, we're going to be able to really personalize learning paths for our students individually, like we've never been able to do before. AI tutors are going to be able to support instruction. I'm really excited about augmented and virtual reality for immersive learning, because isn't that how we learn, as being immersed into something? So that technology still has some work to do, but I'm excited about that area. And then we also want to think about our flexible student-centered environments, because the environment that our students are living in must adhere to being able to use this technology as well. And then how are we as teachers going to be able to learn ourselves about this technology and how to use it? And how are we going to be able to be mentors for our students, not just deliverers of information? Now, I know many of you were with me last week when we talked about UDL, so I did want to touch on how AI can support us in our universal design for learning. If we think about AI bringing the power and UDL brings the purpose, So AI is going to allow us to support our students by reading content aloud, by personalized learning, engaging our students, and keeping that in mind with our universal design to be able to have multiple means of representation, choice and autonomy, all of those areas that we talked about last week with our universal design for learning is really going to be supported and helped by artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of exciting areas there. Now, one of the things that I want to spend some time on is talking about prompt engineering. Prompt engineering basically is your entry into using artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence, remember, is a machine. It's not going to do anything unless you interact with it. So we have to make sure that when we're interacting with it, that we have good communication between you and the artificial intelligence, just like with our students or our colleagues or our families. The better communicators we are, the better results we get with what that relationship looks like. So if we look at these two prompts here, the one on the left says, write a lesson plan about cells. Okay, so if we put that into a ChatGPT, for example, we will get a lesson plan about cells, but it may not be the specific type of lesson plan that we're looking for. So if we look at the one on the right, we can see it says develop a 50-minute lesson plan for an inclusive 8th grade science class about the structure and functions of cell organelles, etc. And you can see the details that are in this prompt are going to help us to provide for the AI to provide us with exactly what we want. And the great thing about AI is it acts as a coach with no judgment. Artificial intelligence has no feelings. It will respond with a tone. You can tell it what tone you want it to respond back with, but keep in mind, it has no feelings. So you cannot hurt its feelings. It has none. So you can really have some in-depth conversations with it and give it information and then argue with it and, push it a little bit further to help you with your learning. But when we're thinking about beginning with these prompts, there are a couple of things we want to make sure that we keep in mind. One is making sure that we have all the components that we want answered. Now, this slide has an example of how you can prompt and how you can start creating your prompts to interact with AI. It's not the only way to do it. There are many different ways to prompt an AI. There's many different slides out there and formulas and words that come up. Whatever works best for you is what's going to work best for you. So keep that in mind as well. This is just an example to get you started. So when you're talking about prompting, the first thing you want to do is give it a task. What do you want the AI to do? Do you want it to write a lesson plan? Do you want it to write an email? Do you want it to whatever that action verb is that you want it to do? That's the most important area in your prompt that you should have. Then you want to give it a context, right? Give it some background information. I'm teaching 8th grade science. I'm teaching middle school English. I'm teaching whatever the teaching is, or maybe you want to have you're having a meeting with your colleagues. I'm going to be working with a group of teachers that teach in K through 12. So give it a context and background information, because that will help it to create that response that you're looking for. You can also give it examples. So for example, if you want to create a lesson plan that's similar to a previous lesson plan that you really like, then upload that to the ChatGPT or the AI that you're using and say, look at this plan that I've had before, and I want you to recreate that from an English lesson to a science lesson, or from one thing to another. It doesn't have to just be lesson plans. It can be anything, any kind of, if you have emails that you've generated that you want to be able to keep the same tone or keep the same idea, you can share that with the artificial intelligence and then say, these are your examples, create new things based on these examples. Write in the way that I write. And here are examples of the way that I write. And it will remember that too over time if you tell it to. The next thing is the persona. And I use this a lot, actually. I tell the ChatGPT to act as an expert in. Sometimes I'll tell it to act as an expert in more than one area. So I might say, act as an expert in artificial intelligence and special education and marketing, and create a marketing plan for me to provide teachers with information about artificial intelligence or something like that. So you can give it a number of personas that you want it to start as, and then go from there. And then it's like having a coach for you to be able to get you to bring you and your work up to a higher level. And then always give it a format too. What do you want it to create? What do you want it to give back to you? Do you want a document? Do you want a PDF document? Do you want a bulleted list? Do you want an email? Do you want a table? Depending on which artificial intelligence you're using, it will be better than others. Do you want an image, for example? Tell it exactly what you want and it'll give it to you. A lot of times I'll say, well, give me an image and a bulleted list. And it's always fun to see how the bulleted list and the image go together or don't go together. And then lastly here, you can look at the tone. So the tone is something that you can tell it the tone that you want. For example, I want my presentation to have an upbeat, happy tone, or I want this email to be serious but positive, or I want this lesson plan to be written in the form of a pirate. Tell it the tone that you want, and it will provide it for you. I always said a great lesson plan for writing for students would be to have AI write a passage in 3 or 4 different tones, and then have students look at each one and determine what are the phrases and words that are changing the tones in each one of these passages. So those are kinds of some of the ideas that you can use to be able to create some really interesting lesson plans for your students. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. So this is an example of a prompt that we gave our AI. One of our doctoral students wanted a calculator for students that had dyscalculia. It was really hard for them to tell numbers. So he thought if we could get a calculator that used colors as well as numbers, that it would help this student. But we couldn't find one. So he created it on his AI. And he put in the prompt, please create a calculator that supports a student with dyscalculia. And this is the response that we got. And it was really great that we were able to download this calculator and use this. And the students definitely benefited from it. And this was something that it took 2 minutes to be able to create this. And we really helped our students. So as you're starting to practice using AI, when you think, gee, I wish I had, ask AI to give it to you, see if you can give it to you or make it for you, or provide the coding for you to do it. You don't have to be a coder to understand it. It may not be perfect, and that's why we always have to keep the human in the loop. We are the experts in what we're trying to create for our students, and we need to make sure that we're always staying within that loop of the information that we're providing for our students. But this was, I thought, a great example of the possibilities. Data analysis is another where that makes it really easy for especially teachers to quickly analyze student data. I will preface that by saying, please make sure that your students' data is private and there's no identifying data that you're adding to any kind of an artificial intelligence unless it's been set up with your institution that it knows that it's being protected. But these are fictitious students. And what I did was, so this is just general information that I made up about a few students, and I added that to, I think I used ChatGPT for this one, and I wanted to know some, so give me some guidelines about what's happening with these students. And you can see here I have some attendance data, some scores in their studies, And I know this slide is not very easy to read. It's the report that I got from ChatGPT, but you can see I got a pretty good report. I mean, it was a general prompt. I didn't go into a lot of details, but I was able to look at this data and go, oh, okay, so now without really having to spend a lot of time going through the data and analyzing it and really thinking about it, the AI was able to help me do that very quickly. So now I can go and serve my students. Like, yes, I can go into the data and I can analyze this and be able to look at the students across time. But if I can save time to do that, now I have more time to address the needs of my students. So this is the second part too, and you can see here, it just talks about some intervention programs. I didn't ask it to give me that. I just asked it to analyze the data for me, but it did see that one of my students here could use some interventions, and then provided me with some examples of what those interventions could look like. So another fun thing that we've been doing is having the AI work with students as a historical figure. So this is a prompt I use. You are Albert Einstein in the year 1942. You are talking to a high school physics class in the year 2025 to explain what the greatest accomplishment was for you and what impact your discoveries had on physics. Now, before I show you what the prompt answered, I was thinking that another thing that AI is really great for is translation. So I took this prompt and I added it to ChatGPT, and then I asked it to please create the prompt in Arabic. So now I'm going to show you what the response was. So here's the response that I got from ChatGPT, translating the previous prompt into Arabic, which I have no experience with at all. And I did check with Dr. Saeed, who said that the translation was correct. I would have no way of knowing that. But now, when I'm talking to maybe a student that's here who first language is Arabic, I know I can trust the ChatGPT to help me to provide information to that student in their language so that they can access the knowledge and they access the learning that maybe they wouldn't be able to do in English. So thumbs up, thumbs down on whether or not you agree that this is a good translation. Again, I have no way, and I'm trusting that everyone does. But we know that AI is not going to be perfect, that it will make mistakes. But this is better than not having anything for our students. If I had a student in my class who was just coming here for the first time and their first language is Arabic, I would love to be able, as a science teacher, to be able to say to them, okay, so this is the lesson that we're working on. Here it is in your language, so you can understand the content. We'll worry about the English part later, but we want you to understand the content. So it looks like people are saying it's good, so thank you. All right, so then going back now to the answer to the prompt. And again, a lot of text here, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can see, in essence, general relativity proposes that gravity is not really a force, and he talks about Isaac Newton, and then he talks like, or the response from the AI is like Albert Einstein. In my time, we are just beginning to understand these concepts and technology is changing. So imagine what it would be like for a student to be able to have a conversation with Albert Einstein. And, you know, with voice recognition now and the voice ability for AI, you can really come up with some creative and engaging lessons for your students to really want to interact with the learning process. So that being said, we need to make a big shift in how education is going to change. And I say that a lot. So we have to think about, what do we want our students to do? What do we want them to learn? Do we want them to memorize everything and then that's what they're going to go out into the world with? Or do we need them to be able to understand what AI is and how to use it correctly, to think critically? Our uniform pacing that classrooms have now, where everybody is getting the lesson and you just keep going no matter what, has to change to personalized learning. And AI can help us do this so students can learn at their own pace. When they're able to learn at their own pace, they're going to learn and comprehend more deeply than they're able to do now. We're going to have to go from teacher-centered teaching to facilitator of learning. Teachers are going to guide students through the learning process, and the AI is going to support us in that learning process. And then from closed book tests to authentic projects. We know that high-stake testing does not give us a good picture of what our students learn and what they know and what they understand. We have to, as professionals, learn to or change the way we're not only teaching our students, helping them learn, helping them access the information, but how we assess their knowledge as well, and how we can do that creatively. We're going to do that to be able to show our students how to use AI and how to use it responsibly, but we're going to use the AI to help us to do that. So this, I know this is a very busy slide. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but it's just to give you an idea that this is a map from EdTech Insiders, and it's all the number of resources based on artificial intelligence that are available, and this list is growing all the time. And as you can see here, there's many different areas that AI will be able to support you and your students. So there's teacher professional learning, student supports, assessments, feedbacks, feedback for your students, feedback for yourself as well. So a lot of these are new. They come and they go. Be careful when you're using them. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we want to make sure that we're keeping in mind when we're discovering new programs to use and what we should be asking ourselves about that. We want to ensure that the programs that we're using are ethical, that they're transparent and give us the transparency of the information that they're getting and what they're giving you. So, okay, so what can AI do for teachers? A lot. AI can create lesson plans. It can differentiate your instruction. So we saw the translation, but what about if you have a student in your class that you have a reading passage for, and you want to be able to either lower or increase that reading level for that passage? Well, AI can do that easily. You can create study guides for your students. You can create real life scenarios for your students about what they're learning. You can analyze student data. You can have students work on reflections or use the AI to reflect on their learning. The AI can act as your coach. I use this a lot for different areas that I'm working on. I ask the AI, I'm working on this project. Can you coach me through this process to make sure that I'm not forgetting things? And it usually comes up with something. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I didn't think about that. You can create podcasts. We're going to talk about Google Notebook LM. I think I talked about that last week. If not, you should definitely check it out. It's my new favorite toy. You can also create a lot of different assessments too. You can create adaptive learning platforms. You can automate grading. You can have tutoring systems. You can set up chatbots. There's so many things that you're going to be able to do. You don't have to do them all at once, but you can lean in slowly. But once you start, you'll be surprised how quickly. You can see this image here was generated by ChatGPT for me. My prompt was to create an image of a teacher sitting with a student in front of a computer screen. And the teacher is helping the student learn about using AI as a tutor. So that was a simple prompt, but it has all of the things that I want. The image generation of AI is getting better and better. It's a little scary. Definitely good enough right now for us to be able to use in our classrooms. So another area is having, especially young students, be able to write out an image that they'd like to create, and then have the AI create that image and see how well the students are able to communicate to the AI what they wanted. So things to consider when implementing this in your classroom is you want to engage your students in dialogues about the data privacy, the algorithms used, because there is inherent bias. Remember, most AIs are trained on human data, and human data has its biases in there. So we want to teach our students to be able to call those out, especially around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. These are really paramount. Teachers need to strike a balance between using technology and using human interaction. We need to make sure that students know how to have those human-to-human relationships, and to understand that the AI is not something to have a relationship with. It can help you learn, but it is a machine, and it is a tool, and it is not a feeling being. It has no feelings. It will respond like it has feelings, but it has no feelings. So we want to make sure that our students know that, and that we remember that as well, because you can get sucked into it easily. And then we have to make sure that we're continuing our professional development. As I said earlier, it changes all the time. Next week, there could be something else that I'm not aware of, or things that you know that you're not aware of, please share. And we need to do this as a collective profession as well. We want to bring everybody up. So some of the ethical considerations that we need to make sure that we're talking about is, number one, accessibility of the tools. Not all students are going to have computers or access to artificial intelligence. We want to make sure that they do, because we want to be able to raise everyone up. So it's a question that we're going to have to answer, and we all have to work together to answer that question. Keep in mind, every machine has inherent bias, so we want to be able to call that out. Transparency, meaning that we want to know where our AIs that we're using have been trained. What data has it been trained on? A lot of the companies that are coming out now will tell you that their data has been trained on pedagogically solid, research-based information. Well, do they provide those research information for you? If not, they're not being very transparent. So you want to make sure that they have those guardrails in place as well. So for example, some of the AIs now are calling themselves education AIs, where the AI will not directly give you an answer. It will ask you questions so that it'll help your thinking. But we have to test these things and then make sure that the companies are being transparent about what they can and cannot do. And as always, it's a tool. We want to supervise and monitor what our students are doing with this, and providing training and supports for our students, our families as well, and then each other. So I want to talk a little bit about cheating, because this comes up a lot. Everybody always says, oh, AI is just going to be a way for our students to cheat. But I can tell you, after researching this, that 70% of high school students in the United States and college students regularly engaged in cheating long before the emergence of artificial intelligence. And researchers at Stanford found that the rate of cheating did not change after the availability of ChatGPT. So now we have to think, well, why do students cheat? Let's address that issue. A lot of that has to do from issues of high stakes testing. And then, and that's an area that we really need to kind of think about changing that, right? Is be able to think about how we're assessing our children and our students. So this slide comes from an article by Richard Culata, who's head of ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education. And he really wants to talk about the causes of cheating and then what the antidote is. So if, for instance, the material being tested does not feel relevant to students, but they still have to get a good grade. Well, if we made the material relevant, they'd want to learn it, and then they would get a good grade. Also, there's a lack of focus on academic integrity and trust and relationship building between our students and our teachers. So we need to think about that, and we need to make sure that, you know, we're setting good examples for our students when it comes to academic integrity, and setting that as the norm. He also states there's more focus on the grades than there is the learning. Again, a big shift that we need to make. We need to focus on the learning, not what grade the student is going to get. And then high stress, pressure, and anxiety around assessments. How are we assessing our students? How can we do a better job with that? And then students have no agency in the assessment process. So why can't we let students demonstrate their learning the way they want to choose their assessments to be done, and have them engaged in that process of determining how they're going to be able to demonstrate their learning and what they've learned and what they've accomplished. That's how they work in as adults, right? When you're an adult, you're assessed on the work that you're able to produce and the quality of that work and what you've been able to move forward in. That's how we should be assessing our students. Okay, a couple more guidelines here. It's always great when you're working with students to provide examples of, so you can for example, you can provide examples of prompting with the AI, provide a selection of do's and don'ts with using AI in your classroom, providing policies around the AI use in your classroom. Lean in. You don't have to, do all these changes all at once, one step at a time. Maybe take one lesson and put it in AI and see what it says, one email. Rethinking your assessments, be learner-centered. Check for bias. I say these over and over again because they are so important. And we want to become the critical thinkers that we want our students to become as well. We want to emphasize, again, the human in the loop. I can't say that enough. And make sure that we're developing guidelines and guardrails for the AI that we're working with, and that we know what those guardrails are in place if we're using a third party. Some of the challenges that you're going to face. One, access to the internet. If your students don't have access to the internet, they don't have access to an artificial intelligence unless you have one on your home computer, and that can be quite challenging, or in your classroom computer. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done about policies for schools and higher education about the use of AI. Some people are talking about this and are taking the lead on this, and we as professionals, again, as a professional organization, need to make sure that we're part of that conversation. I've talked about cheating, the role of AI in delivering instruction and intervention, how that's going to change what that looks like. The lack of research, too, in education and how AI is going to be able to support our students. It's only been out here in education right now for not more than 3 years. So we need to make sure that we're all researching together and finding what is good practices, what is good pedagogical practices, and what is not. Agreeing upon what ethics need to be included is going to be a challenge for us. Preparing students for an integrated world. If you think about it, the students that we're teaching today are going into a workforce. We don't even know what it's going to look like. It's changing every day as we see it. We don't know what the final result is going to be. So we need to make sure that we're teaching them to become lifelong learners. We want to make sure that we're personalizing it, but also pushing our students to reach their full limits. Computing power of schools is going to be an issue because a lot of these tools take a lot of computing power. And being able to make sure that we have the resources to manage that. I wanted to talk about this too. This is a recent special report from Education Week discussing the age appropriateness of artificial intelligence. So if we think about K-4 students, they should now be talking about what artificial intelligence is and understanding that it's not a person, even though you can talk to it. We can start with smart speakers. Things like HomePods and devices that are in the home. They can start using those to ask questions, but every time they do, we have to say, it's a machine, ask the machine, not get the results and get, like if we would do this at my house, we would ask it for a joke of the day. But it's important to realize that, okay, my family, it's a machine spitting out a pattern of a joke. It's not real. It doesn't have feelings. It's not funny itself. 3rd through 6th grade can focus on problem-solving skills. So again, making sure that it's interacting with the AI, knowing that it's a machine, but using it to try to solve some problems that they have and get them thinking about how to use this tool to problem solve. And then 5th through 9th grade, don't loosen those restrictions about the access to AI-powered tech, but maybe taking a step further in how they're using it and how they're thinking about it and how they're being able to use it to personalize their learning. And then as they grow into 9th through 12th grade, learning about the limitations of what AI is, what it can do, and making sure throughout all of these areas that we're keeping that human in the loop and that we're keeping those social interactions as the number one things we want our students to be able to accomplish. So I have, we're pretty good on time. I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask here, and you can just add to the chat. So the first one is, AI will replace teachers in the future. Myth or fact? True or false? Let's put in the chat and see what you guys think. Myth. I love it. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a myth. AI is powerful and it can do a great thing. It can automate tasks. It's going to free us up. But we become now more important for our students because the most important thing that we need to do is make sure that our students are learning about being human and having those relationships and fostering their creativity. AI can help us solve problems. It can give us information, but it's never going to be as creative as humans are. So we want to be able to use it as a support tool, but definitely not a replacement for humans. Okay, let's do another one. AI tools can adapt instruction in real time based on student performance. Myth or fact? Everybody says fact so far. Great. Okay, you're right. Yeah. It can you'd be great at adaptive learning platforms, and you can do it in real time, which is great. So it's like, you know, when you're in a lesson and you've been at a part where, oh, I'm going to have to think about a question for tomorrow's class because I can't think about it right now. You can ask AI to help you in real time, which is going to be really exciting. Okay, so to stay on time, I'm going to go through. I had a couple more, but we'll skip these. It sounds like you guys are very knowledgeable in your AI. I wanted to show you this resource. This is from CITL, the Center for Innovation Design and Digital Learning, which is a program that we work with. And they, on this website, they have the impact of AI in education for all learners. It's a free resource, and there's a lot of really great information in here to help you as you're learning to use this tool. So you can just go to citl.org. There's a ton of other information on this website as well, especially with working with students with disabilities. So feel free to check that out, ciddl.org. And this is a free resource. And don't forget, I'll give you these slides too, so that you don't have to copy this down right now. So this is a list of some of the biggest AIs that are being used right now. These prices are US prices, so I don't know how they would change for Egypt, but Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of Notebook LM, Canva, all of these have their good points and bad things. So currently I have probably about 4 or 5 different AI platforms that I'm using, depending on what I'm trying to do. Canva is amazing for social media and for students to become creative. It's got a pretty good AI component to it now. Claude is, and the other thing it has here is who owns these. So Claude is from Anthropic. There are free versions for most of these tools as well, so that you can try them out to see which one you like. But this chart sort of gives you some of the strengths and weaknesses of each one. There are many, many, many more tools than this. These are just some of the biggest ones that I've been using. Brisk is actually really cool because it's a little icon that can sit on your computer. So if you're in a video, let's say, and you want to create something really quick about this video, you click on the little icon and it'll bring up, do you want a study guide? Do you want a lesson plan? Do you want an assessment on a video? So that's one that I thought, oh, this is a fun tool to be able to use. There's many tools out there. We do not have time to go over all of these tools, but find your 1 or 2 favorites, and then maybe once a month you can find a new one to play with. So Notebook LM is my favorite right now. It's an amazing tool that organizes information. So the way Notebook LM works is it's free, by the way, on Google. You can create different types of notebooks, and each notebook, what you would do is upload your sources of information that you're looking for. So example, I have a notebook on AI that I have PDF documents on research. I have videos. I have conversations. I have all kinds of different types of information that I've been collecting in my notebook. What I can do then is summarize all of that information and then ask questions and interact just like I would ChatGPT, but it's only on the resources that are in that particular notebook. You can also create a podcast based on the documents that you add. And what they just released this past week is that now you can interact with the podcast. So if you listen to a podcast and you're listening to people speak, and it talks about doing a deep dive on all the resources that you have, but now I can ask the podcaster questions and it'll answer the questions for me. Unfortunately, I don't have a demonstration of that yet, but I do want to make a video to be able to show for presentations, but definitely go check it out. It's very cool. It can create study guides. It creates summaries. It's my new favorite AI for sure. Napkin AI is another interesting resource that is free that makes a lot of different kinds of images like the one that you see here. So you can create a prompt to give you an image of all different kinds of scenarios or summaries, and it does a really good job of that. At the end of the presentation, so I'm going to stop here for questions, but I will just show you at the end of my slide deck, I have a list of presentation of other resources and links to other sites and kind of some summaries of each one too. And so if there are different things that you want to try, I know Magic School is out there. That's amazing. We talked a little bit about Brisk. There's so many there. I could spend an hour just talking about those, but I'm going to stop here for questions and see if anybody has anything that they want me to review.
والله بقول لك حاجه انا ما قلتلكش كده والله.
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you very well. If we can't hear you, you're welcome to put a question in the chat as well.
I think he unmuted himself by mistake, but I see here Shrihan and Amani raising their hands. So we can start with Shrihan.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation. It was very beneficial for all of us, actually. You put it in a nutshell, as they say. So thank you so much for that. I just want to tell you that using AI regarding the UDL that we were talking about in the last session, I already have my own course that I do training for my teachers, and I take the same steps as you already did, Toni, which was perfectly amazing. But regarding the part of talking with Albert Einstein, there is a website called School AI,
Yes.
where there is a real conversation that we can have, voice and a video where the students can make a conversation with many different characters in the history. For example, Albert Einstein, Abraham Lincoln, many
Yes.
people, and it is a very informative one.
Yeah, School AI. And
Yes.
they do a lot of other things just besides that as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
speaking of,
amazing.
I'm going to show you, I'm going to share my screen again. One of the things that I did, and I didn't know if it's going to work, sometimes doing live exercises with ChatGPT is not always the best, so I try to do it ahead of time. But you can see here, I put in the prompt that I made for you in Arabic. I assume you can see my slide. And this is the response that I got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's really cool because if I had a teacher, I mean, I had a student in a class, and we have that a lot here. We have students in our classes that don't speak English and that yet we're teaching in English. Being able to have a tool quickly like this that responds to them in
Which
their
one?
own language.
Yeah, exactly. And will make them more engaged with them in the class.
Yeah, more engaged, more excited about coming to school
Yeah,
and being part of that process. And then accessing the learning as well, right?
of
Because
course.
if, you know, we can teach them English for sure, but then they're going to be behind in learning the topics that we want them to learn as well, and we don't want that. So, but yes, school AI is amazing as well. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much.
Um,
So we
hello, doctor. May I just say a reflection about the session, please?
Please.
Yes, hello. This is Maha Hosni. Thank you very much for the very informative session. Really, it's amazing. What I need to say is that AI is center stage. It's the elephant in the room, but we still need to remind ourselves that we are the pilots in command. We
Yes.
are the people flying the aircraft, not the aircraft flying us.
Yes.
So the teacher is the maestro of the classroom. He caters for the needs of the students in a way that AI can never replace him. Okay,
Absolutely.
AI should
Absolutely.
be used as a calculator, as a tool, and
Yes.
not more than that. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I agree 100%. It's a little bit more than a calculator, I think,
Maybe,
because it's
yeah.
going to be, yeah, it's going to be so powerful, but it's going to be powerful for us too. I mean, it's going to make us better teachers. I can tell just with myself, it's made me a better presenter. It helps me to organize and it saves a lot of time. And that time saving aspect allows us to spend more time with our students. So,
Of
you know,
course.
I
As
want you to use,
the good teacher is the one who teaches from the heart, not from the book and not from the AI
yes,
tools.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So we
absolutely.
are irreplaceable.
Yeah, it's not to replace teachers at all. It's to be able to allow you to spend more time sitting down with your students and creating those relationships with your students, because that's what they're going to need to learn most, especially in this AI future, is how to have human interactions. So, and not to have the AI interactions. Like, we need to make sure that we're having those interactions human to human and keeping that in the front of our minds at all times. So thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
You know, I guess the AI provides us with the equation of 80-20. It does the 80% of the
Yes, the
work and the
Pareto rule.
workload.
So yeah, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the 20% is for the teacher to customize and to put the social emotional part into the class with their students.
Yeah, it'll do 80% of the work, but the 20%, which is the most important, is what we focus on with our students.
Hello, Christine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
It's great to see you again today. Thank you so
Thank
much for the very informative presentation. I have two comments to say. As per the AI helping us in the classroom, I have read a quote before that teachers, they want AI to do their laundry and do their dishes, and they will do the creative lesson planning. This is one thing. I personally want AI to do that. Anyway,
That's a great point.
the
All of us,
second
by the
thing,
way.
exactly. The second thing is, we all know that AI is very helpful in terms of personalized learning and adaptive learning and so on and so forth. But how do I do that for, let's say, 20 students in the same classroom? How do I create personalized learning plans for each one of them and double
Yeah,
that
so
for the rest of the classes?
yes, so that's an interesting idea, is, you know, creating that one lesson plan that you have. And that goes back to us thinking about our universal design for learning framework. So if we start knowing that we have 20 students that may come in different areas, how can we start thinking about what we need to do to be able to address all of our students, and going back to the three tenets of universal design for learning? And we can have the AI help us with that too, right? So let's say the AI is, I might, in this case, say to the AI, act as an expert in universal design for learning. And I teach chemistry, so I'll say chemistry, and provide a lesson for me on, I don't know, equations or scientific notation, whatever my lesson is at that point. And I have 20 students and they all have different needs. So what is a good interactive, engaging lesson plan? Provide a hook for me, all the things that I want it to do. And then it's going to provide me with that information. Now, some of it I might like and some of it I might not, so that I'm going to have a conversation with this AI to say, oh, okay, so I like this one idea, I'll keep that, but I don't like that idea. What else have you got? Sometimes I'll ask it for a list. Give me 3 different ideas. Another thing you can do that when we talked about prompting is you can give it a prompt and say, before you give me an answer, ask me 5 or 10 questions that you need answered to give me a better response. And then it'll ask me questions that I didn't think to provide it, and I can answer those, and then I'll get a better response. And then I can say, oh, okay, so this worked really well, but I don't like that. And sometimes, and I'll do this a lot with AI when I'm doing it in my current job, and I'll be like, oh, I like this, I like that, I don't like this, give me something else. And all of a sudden now I have my own mentor, I have my own coach. It helps me to come up with ideas that I didn't think of, but it also helps me to spark my own creativity. So it might give me an idea and I think, oh, that's a great idea, but I can make it better. And so then I change it to be able to make it better. So you see, you're still creating the lesson plans, you're still doing the human part of that creativity, but it's a colleague in a way. So if you've ever worked with a group of teachers where you're sitting down creating lesson plans together, as you come together, you always do a better job than you would on your own. So this is a tool that you can use on your own to inspire you, to increase your creativity, and then to have your own personalized mentor to be able to support you in what you're trying to do. So I would start there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
And definitely practice with it too. It took me a while. Like I would give it a prompt and then I would be done. And I was using, a lot of times I used either ChatGPT. I've been using Copilot and Claude a lot lately, but I use it almost like a search engine to come up with an answer. Well, I've changed now. I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm really having interactions with my artificial intelligence that on whatever topic, could be a research topic, and trying to get it to inspire me to come up with ideas that I didn't think of before. And so I'm not using it as I use Google for a search engine. If I have like one thing I need to look up, I'll just go to Google. It's funny because now most of the time when you use Google as a search engine, it comes up with the AI
Attached to AI,
response.
yes, exactly.
So
Shortcut.
yes. So now thinking about, really having deeper, and sometimes I'll ask the AI, I want to think about this topic more deeply, or think about this more deeply, not just surface level. I really want to go deep into this topic to create something new. Help me to do that. What do you need to know to get me to the point where I want to go?
Yeah. May I ask a question?
Sure.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for your awesome organized presentation. We really appreciate your efforts in this session. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, we as a teachers use AI tools, so as they are save our efforts and time as a teacher or as an educator. But concerning our students, I have 2 problems. The first one, that they believe or they have a strong belief that AI doesn't give mistakes. However, the prompts they give, they believe that this answer is the accurate answer. And sometimes I notice that some students who are in a low standard didn't participate in any activities in class, but their assignments are perfect. how does it come? I think they something like plagiarism. I think they just give the question or the assignment to AI tool and Gemini or whatever, and take the answer and copy it without
Yes.
any understanding. How can I, as a teacher, be sure that they really understand what they do? And how
Well,
can I change their belief that AI may give mistaken answers?
yeah.
They
And
they depend on
you're
their prompts.
Yeah, you're not alone because these are the questions that all of us are facing now, right? So number one is thinking about, well, how are we providing those lessons to begin with
Mhm.
to make sure that students are understanding what the AI can give and what it can and can't do. And that, that's something that you can have those practice lessons in your class where you're using AI to generate information and then having the students go find other sources to check that information. And you can design your AI to give mistakes on purpose. The students won't know that, you'll know that, but they can then respond on purpose, with mistakes. And then the students, when they find the resources where they're like, oh, wait, it lied to me, they're going to think about that again. And then as far as the assessments, that goes back to us rethinking our assessments and how we're assessing our students. So if we want them to, let's say, be able to write a passage or write a paragraph, maybe we need to do that in class on paper and pencil. Whereas before we'd let them copy and paste using technology. Maybe we need to have that in
Yes,
person and instead
sure,
of,
but
yeah,
sometimes the time is limited. So
right,
you have to
right,
make it as a rubric or an
right,
assignment. And
right.
if they just wrote 2 sentences, but I know that this student is not that standard or that not that level.
Yes.
How does it
Yeah.
make sense?
And I would call them out on it too, saying, wow, this is you've learned a lot in this past week that I just never thought. Let's have a conversation about what you wrote here. And,
Mhm.
maybe you can explain to me more about this sentence or this topic. Tell me about how you came up with this. And they're not going to be
I
able to.
really,
Yeah, I used
yeah,
to I
I
used
did
to
say,
teach. Yeah, I used to teach
I did this.
chemistry online. I taught chemistry virtually for about 6 months, and it was really interesting. You could tell the students that were copying and pasting things, and that's what I would do. Like, tell me more
Yeah,
about this, and they wouldn't be able to. And then
I
I'd be
did
like,
this,
maybe,
but
maybe,
one
yeah,
one of
maybe you
my
should
students
rethink
says,
about your result, your submission here.
yeah, I did this before, and one of my students says to me, Miss, I'm perfect at writing, but I'm not very good at speaking. I can't express myself as a speaking skill.
Well,
I know
type it
that.
out for me right now. Go ahead, type it out for me right now. Here's the
Yeah.
computer. Type it out right now. Yeah, I mean, our students are smart and they're going to try to figure out ways to get through the easiest path to be able to get through the class. That goes back to how we're assessing our
And in
students
the
and how we're
final
thinking
exam, there
about
is
their
no
learning.
IA.
Yeah,
There is no AI in their final exam.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you so much.
exactly.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
So these are things that we're all of us are facing in our classrooms, and we're going to really have to, as a profession, make a big shift in how we're helping our students to learn, how we're having them assess the knowledge, how we're assessing that knowledge as well.
Sure.
May I add a
Okay.
comment, please? It will not take a minute.
Sure.
Okay. Actually, I'm using AI to translate word list for my students because my students, many of them do not know English words. So one of the things that I used to type words in the past and then write the Arabic versions or the Arabic translation. But nowadays I did something which was really helpful. So I read the words and yes, after every word I gave a space, so it became a word list, and then I asked for the translation, and
And you,
I provided my students with them before every module, so it was really helpful. This is one point. And then afterwards, one of my colleagues told me, Rasha, my name is Rasha. Rasha, you always write English Arabic words. Why don't you put for them English words, English يعني, the word with the meaning or the vocabulary in English. So I did so, and it was really helpful because he put them into themes or ideas. So he
Yes.
collected the words and themes and ideas, and then I created quizzes, and after the quizzes I asked them to do the quizzes, and at home after they do the quizzes they have the model answers at the end of the PDF. So it was another step forward. And the last step that I got a note from one of my students. He told me, thank you very much. I studied the words before I take the online quiz you wrote or you did on Microsoft Forms. And thanks God, I got marks. I thought I would never ever get any mark. So it was really nice. But I never ever thought about teaching my students how to use AI. And this is one of the takeaways of attending this session. Thank you very much. I'll teach them. I remember now, it hit my mind that when we started using Google, we taught our students how to use it and we spoke to them about how to use it responsibly. So I'll do this with my students. I'll dedicate one lecture to teach them how to use AI to support their learning experiences. Thank you very much for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
that's great. And especially with language, because they can use it to practice. And even now they can use it to have conversations in different languages.
Yes,
For
correct.
I'm hoping I'd like to learn French, and I've been practicing, so I'm hoping to be able to, because I can use Grok in my car right now, and I'm hoping to be able to start practicing speaking French while I'm driving in the car. I haven't done it yet, but I'll let you know how it works. But yes, making sure that, I mean, remember, what's the purpose of teaching students? Like, why do we teach our children? So that they become adults and be able to live independently and make the world a better place. AI is going to be in their world. We need to make sure that they know how to use it responsibly, because we already see now some of the problems that could come up with using AI. So it is really imperative for all of us to make sure our students know what kind of tool it is, what they can do with it, what they shouldn't do with it, and the problems that can occur. And it's moving fast, so we don't have a minute to waste.
Okay, thank you very much for the
Thank
session.
you.
Can I add something? I have a comment. My
Sure.
name is Nia, and I want to thank you very much for the session. It was really beneficial. My comment is I discovered that my students use AI to answer questions and to cheat, actually, and that was astonishing for me. Um, I found a way actually to let them use AI um, in a good way. I ask them, okay, I give them some questions and I said, all right, I wanted to use AI or I wanted to use whatsoever application or something to answer the questions. But for the next time, what I want from you is to give me the answers and to tell me exactly what did you find. So why did I do that? I did that because I want them to improve speaking. So they are
Yes.
just thinking about how to find the answer. But for me, I'm thinking about I want them to speak. So everybody
Right.
is going to find the answers for the questions. And guess what? They improve speaking. And that was astonishing for me. That's why I like the idea that my students using AI.
I
But
love
I
that.
still, yeah, but I still have a question. For AI, I found that most of us, I can't say most of us. I said, okay, as for some of the teachers, they use AI, they become like kind of lazy teachers. So because AI can do the dialogue for me, or the summarize for me, or plan for me, or something like that. So we become kind of lazy and we don't become creative like we used to be because we see that it's the easy way. Just write
Mhm.
whatever we want, and then after just click, the answer is here. So how can we balance that? Because I found that a lot of people become lazy. I start to do that also. First I set with myself a plan for something or think about something and try to create it by myself. But after a while, I said, okay, that's so easy. I'm gonna just write a question or something and blah blah blah, and gives you a lot of options actually. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's
y-
an interesting point. I remember having a conversation with someone when we were talking about, oh, it's going to be such a great time saver for teachers. And so then the next question was, well, what are the teachers going to do with that extra time now?
mhm, yeah.
So as human beings, we have to answer that question. I really don't have an answer for you. I mean, I think it's going to be humans are going to be humans, good and bad,
Mm,
and some people are going to be inspired by this technology and to be able to use it. Like I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm excited about using this. I'm excited for our students and seeing where it could go. It's very powerful. I
mhm,
know that it has its dark sides, and I know it
mhm,
had some scary points that it can go to, but it's
yeah.
here and it's only moving forward, and I want to be the part of the solution of what that
Mm,
looks like, and I'm going to use it as a positive tool.
mhm,
And I can't change the world, but I'm
yeah.
gonna try.
Yeah. I can see that. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You
Hello,
can answer.
can you hear me, guys? All right.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for this amazing session indeed. But I may have a different point of view from other colleagues here. I'm thinking that AI will replace teachers in the future, indeed. Why? Because, like, if you want to learn a language right now, you can log on the internet and Google it, and you can learn it on your own base. So I think in the future, AI will replace teachers in some places. For example, I read an article about a classroom in the United Kingdom that they are using a classroom without teachers. And it was like a pilot, an experiment to see what will happen or the reaction of some students. As my colleague said, that we are flying the aircraft, not the aircraft flying us. But what about drones right now? They can fly. We can control them, but I think in the future they can do whatever they want in the sky. So why don't you think that AI will replace teachers in the future? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. And you have the right to be able to think that way too, and to be able to all of us need to think about what is the role of human beings in a future world that has AI in it. And I believe that the relationship between a teacher and a student is the number one area that we need to focus on in terms of having our students grow up to be good humans. And so when we think about education, what are our educational goals, and what are they the goals for the future? And again, we want our students to grow up to be great human beings, and they're only going to learn that if we have great human beings to be able to be their teachers. So we as a profession need to be able to stand up and say it's not okay for students to be taught solely by a machine. It's not okay for our babies to be brought up only by a machine. It's not okay for students to only have interactions with a machine. The machines don't have feelings. We have feelings. We need to teach our students to have feelings and our children to have feelings. So even though that technology may be possible and that students can learn solely from an artificial intelligence, from a machine, we as a profession need to stand up and say, no, that is not okay. that we need our students to understand what it's like to be a human being, and only human beings can do that. So we can use this powerful technology to help us have more time with our students and to be able to change the way education looks. But that's what we need to do as a profession so that it doesn't become something where teachers are no longer in existence. Does that help?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for interruption, but I have a comment on this point. AI could teach the students vocabulary, could teach them how to speak, but they will never ever teach them how to reflect or collaborate or interact with the people around them, which are skills that they never ever acquire except in the classroom when they deal with other students.
Correct.
And the teacher.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that part too? Because the experiment that our colleague mentioned, it was already established in Cambridge, and they discovered the result of this piloting experiment of having a class totally AI class and the other one with the teachers. They found the result that 20% of the students did great academically, but there was no differentiation. The social emotional part of the student was not taken or being in consideration. And the result was scaffolding and supporting the teacher, the students, was mainly approached in the other class with the teacher there. So this was a kind of a proof that a teacher must be there with the AI. The teacher is there. Without the AI and without the teacher, there is no teaching. The spirit of teaching is not there. So this was the result of this experiment.
And there's a lot of work for all of us to do. Like I said, as a profession, as an international professional too, is to be able to stand up and do that research. That research is important for us to do. And there's still a lot of ongoing research that needs to be conducted. And we all have a lot to learn. But we need to stand together too, as professionals, to be able to say, we are the experts and we understand that it's not okay for machines to be the sole teachers for our students, and here's why.
Okay, I think we have one more question from Mark. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Na. Thank you, Dr. Christine, for your sessions. I think, as you said all, that we can make AI tools carry some of the teachers' tasks that they can do in the class with these huge curriculums in all our schools and all our states. We can put AI tools in the right position to use them correctly and help teachers to have more time with their students, not explain all the time, check all the time, review all the time. They can make them do some of their jobs, and they can have more time with their students, social time, guiding time. That's what I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I agree.
Did we have more time for one question, Miss Kristen, or?
Let's see. I think I have about 3 minutes left.
Yes, Suzanne, please start.
Yeah, hello. I would like to thank you so much for this nice session. It was very beneficial. I will put my question fast. So we have many AI tools, as you mentioned. Some of them are general tools, others are related to education. Do you have any recommendations for best practices that we can cascade to our teachers to deal with this big number that is growing every day?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest
Thank
things.
you.
It's so hard to keep up. Conmigo is very good. And I trust Khan Academy and the work that they've done. I've been, using Khan videos for years and years. And the work that they've done with their AI platform, I think is important, and I think it's useful. It's not perfect, but it definitely provides help for students. Magic School also is another company out there that I've investigated. They seem to know what they're doing, and they have a lot of different resources on their platform that are really well organized for teachers, by teachers. So those I think would be the first two. Again, Notebook LM is one of my favorite tools right now. Not really designed the same way that those are in terms of scaffolding the learning and personalizing the learning, but it is a great tool to have. So, and then, you know, just using things like Claude, ChatGPT, and Copilot to be able to ask questions is also the biggest tools that I would be using right now. So if I would say, where should you start as a teacher, I would say either Magic School or Khan Academy would probably be the best. But in terms of just general AI use and wanting to learn more, then I would go to ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Brisk is the other one that I really like as a teacher, because Brisk is just an extension that you can add onto your site. So as you're, like, if you're looking at videos, you can just click on the little Brisk icon and it'll help you to create. So it's an easy in to using AI, because it'll help you to create study guides or assessments very, very quickly on whatever document you have pulled up.
I guess Brisk is much better than Camigo because it's not available in the Middle East. We need to use a VPN for using this platform, but Brisk is much effective for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Brisk is good. And then I thought of another one. I lost it. Sorry. But a lot of them are like on the slide deck, and on the end of the slide deck, I have a lot of different types of tools that you can check out and try them out.
Thank you.
So I think we don't have any more questions. Anyone have any more questions? There is Riham. Do we have time, Miss Christine, for Riham, or?
I have another meeting at 3 o'clock that I have to run to, so I'm afraid we don't, but I'm happy to contact by email. My contact information is available, and I promise I'll share the slides as well. So it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I look forward to more.
Thank you very much, and we hope, looking forward to see you in our conference. It will be a great honor and a privilege to have you. Thank you, and I know you have to run to your
From
interview.
Egypt to the world, we don't just teach, we transform, we lead, we build the future together. This is Edu-Next-AI, where ideas ignite, empowering minds with knowledge and insight. The next generation starts here, and why? Because tomorrow begins at Edu-Next-AI. At Edu-Next-AI.